Hello. I just want to make sure you can hear me. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're audible, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to everyone. Sir Srikanth Kaundinya, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to you.
Sir. So this is the fourth day of our workshop. The great personality, today's speaker, Srikanth Kaundinya, sir, will deal today. And tomorrow also, I extend a warm welcome to Srikanth Kaundinya, sir. Sir will deal today. Deal today the risk management on part of the trader, on part of the sorry, there is some problem. Today he will deal about the risk management and part of the trader. He has to know. Everybody should have to listen the class of our Srikanth Kaundinya, sir. Sir, once again I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Dr. Hand over to Dr. Rani C.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Dr. Sri Rani, Assistant Professor, Sri Untitled Institute of Management, Tirupati. Welcome you all to the national level workshop. It is a splendid moment to extend my warm welcome on fourth day of national level 5-day workshop on designing behavioral finance and commodity derivatives on behalf of the Sri Vidyaniketan Institute of Management. Warm welcome to our beloved director and convener, Professor P. Narayan Reddy. I welcome Mr. Srikanth Kaundinya, Assistant Vice President, NCX, Mumbai, to preside over the workshop.
Thank you.
Sir, we had a great session yesterday, and thank you for your enlightening speech. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, sir. We look forward for your valuable insight into the commodity derivatives in today's session. And sir, the platform is yours, sir. I welcome you.
Thank you very much. So I'll just share my presentation before I start. And the other thing I'll do is I'll remove my face from the screen because sometimes I have this problem with the bandwidth. And with that, I'll just remove this. I'll just close the camera, but I'm here. And let us, okay. All right. Now, so we have, when we decided to this program, this FDP, and we were looking at 3 sessions from commodity point of view. The first was, of course, you can't get into the hedging part unless you have a very good insight into the commodity markets. And hence, yesterday we went and we introduced the commodity segment and introduced what derivatives were. And today we are moving to the next level, which is the risk management. And tomorrow we're going to look at the clearing and settlement. That means once you put a trade, what happens at the back end? So that we will look at tomorrow. But today we're looking at price risk management. Now, the very important for us all to realize that companies who are utilizing raw materials, they are subjected to a decision regarding procurement of raw materials for their factories. And it is, of course, one is about sourcing it and getting it from at the right place, the right quality, and also the correct price. So now, when you are buying on a commodity exchange, I've already told you that the exchange guarantees the delivery of the commodity. And all our contracts, or all commodity contracts on MCX, they are all deliverable contracts, which means that anybody who's seeking delivery will be getting his delivery. Yeah, so that is one thing. So from a risk management point of view, because the contract specifies the quality, and if you are opting for delivery, you are promised delivery. And when we say promise, it is about getting it at the right place, right time, right quality. Yeah. As far as the price is concerned, it's up to you how you're buying it. You could be buying it in the open market. You could be buying it on the exchange and locking into the price. And if you're not very happy with that particular price, you even have the flexibility of squaring up your position and leaving the market. And yesterday we mentioned about why a lot of people do not take delivery on the exchange platform. That's because of convenience. Sometimes they need the commodity much before the contract date, or there might be people who will uh, they don't want to take the delivery because they find that the delivery center may not be very near. So there are various factors to be considered. But the one thing which is very important is our risk management. Yeah. So this particular session, we are using the price risk management using derivative instrument. Now, what does that mean? It means you can actually manage your price risk without derivative instruments. Yeah. So this derivative instruments is one opportunity that you have, one option that you have to manage risk. So when you just have to think back before commodity exchange came into being, is it that people did not manage the price risk? Of course they did. So there are different ways of managing price risk earlier. This is the new scientific method of managing price risk. And so that is what we'll be looking at. So the PRM using derivative instruments is a new way, the new age of managing price risk. Uh, so we'll talk about, in this particular session, we'll talk about hedging, and we're looking at the participants in the hedging strategy. We're looking at hedging strategies, identifying the risks, who should hedge. We'll look at hedging with futures, and we'll look at hedging with options and with numbers. So we'll do some bit of number crunching there, because unless you put your, the numbers there, it will not make sense. It'll only be on paper. And then we look at some benefits of hedging. So why hedge? Yeah. So we look at this. This is how we are going across. But first of all, this particular slide here is really telling you how it's giving an idea as to how what people can do if they don't want to come to a commodity exchange. What can they do? So like we are looking at price. First of all, the most important thing is about identifying the risk. Yeah. So we are looking at how, when I'm talking about price risk, I need to identify the risk. Once I've identified the risk as to that the risk is pertaining to the price, then what do I do about it? Now, here are some different kinds of situations that people find themselves in. One is when they are confronted with a very high price for a basic raw material. One thing that they can do, and many companies do that, especially smaller companies do that, they change the usage or consumption pattern. They consume less of that particular material. But this is possible only when the final product is a mix of many things. I mean, I was just reading today that Apple, is the company which is making a mobile phone. They have suddenly realized that the cost of manufacturing the charger, so every phone has a charger. So if you ever buy a mobile phone, it always comes with a charger. Now, what the Apple has now done, and they've just announced it, is that if you buy an Apple phone in the future, they will not give you a charger. If you want to buy a charger, you will have to buy it separately. Now, what are they doing? What is all this about? This is about when prices are going up for whatever reasons. It could be that the input, one of the raw materials which goes into the making of a charger, that price of, or is the maybe the procurement is becoming difficult, or the price is going up, and it is upsetting the total price of that particular iPhone. So what they're doing is they're saying, okay, you can buy my phone, but I'm not giving you the charger. Now, this is what I mean. So you can change the usage consumption pattern. You can consume less. You can try and change the product mix. You can do all kinds of things here. Yeah. I always give an example of small the corner shops, or these shops which sell mixture. These mixtures they sell for eating. You have this. It's got a bit of peanuts in it, and it's got some save in it, and these like Haldiram mixture that you get. Yeah. Now that's a very good example, because when you find that the cost of production goes up, then they can actually change the usage of some of them. They will probably put less of maybe less of kaju, more of peanuts, yeah, and that kind of a thing. I'm just trying to give you an idea that what people can possibly do when they are confronted with prices, of raw materials going up. So they can try and maintain their market position by making slight changes in the final product, hoping that it will not have a great impact on the on their sales. The other thing they can do is they can change the operating margins. So basically, there is like an acceptance of a fact that I will not be able to get that much as I used to do before. I'll have to compromise somewhere, but I'll try and make up somewhere, someplace else. This you can see sometimes in insurance companies when they're selling you insurance. Uh, you can actually negotiate with them, and they will give you something at a very at a lesser price, and then later on they will try and what they'll do is they'll try and sell some other product to you, because once they have gained your confidence, then by selling you one product at a cheaper cost, they will try and sell something else. But these are just examples of how people are doing their marketing. Now, all the other one is alternative sources of energy. Now, this is basically depending on a kind of a company which is based on a energy product. Yeah. So if I'm using diesel or I'm using a fuel, then I'll try and see whether I can find an alternative source which might be cheaper, and I can try and avoid that. So if the cost of running my plant, my manufacturing plant has gone up, and if I want to conserve on energy, and I can try and see whether I can instead of buying the energy, buying electricity, maybe I can set up my own power generating capacity within my large company, and maybe that might be that might bring down my costs. So there's another option that people can think of. A cost engineering initiative is that basically they change the design of the commodity, the product. Yeah, and there's one example I have been giving for many years, and I'm sure some of you might have heard that. Is like you have this Wagoner, the old Wagoner and the new Wagoner. What is the difference? The difference was that the new Wagoner, although it looked very sleek with lots of gadgets inside it, but really what they had done was that they had played around with the engine capacity. So the older version of a Wagoner had a higher capacity. The engine capacity was, I think, 1000 cc, and then the the new one is about what we call 800 cc. But these are some of the options that people have. When the manufacturing, when you are confronted with the raw material prices going up constantly, and you want to maintain your selling price, then you will try and move around within your domain and try and adjust. And sometimes, if you can't do anything else, you might pass the buck. You can pass the cost to the market, to the public. But then, if there is competition in the marketplace, then you are not able to do that, because the minute you increase the price, then you are basically surrendering some of your market share. And so that is what we say, that you can pass on the cost to consumer, but in a competitive marketplace, it is not always possible, because it can have a dent on your market share. So what are the possible solutions? These are things that people do. Yeah. But how can a commodity derivative minimize your price risk? So the point is that instead of doing all this kind of thing, if you're happy with your final product, and if your main problem is only about the cost of the input cost of raw material, then you come to a commodity derivative market and hedge your price risk. Yeah. So the main purpose of this particular slide is I want you to understand that companies who are confronted with raw material prices, they have to think out of the box and think of different ways of making sure that that they can still remain competitive. Uh, we have in economics, you must have studied this thing about the Japanese. The Japanese they were so good at manufacturing, and so there's an old story which goes on, which says that the Americans they made a contract with the Japanese for supply of a particular material, and they said that we will accept 5% defect in the product. Yeah, 5% defect we will accept from you. So when the goods arrived in America, they found that there was an additional box. And when they asked them, what is this additional box? So they said, this is the 5% defects that you asked for. So the point here is that, you can be so good that there will not be any defects and you can control your costs as much as you possibly can. So with that background, let me just get into hedging now. So what exactly is hedging? So it's basically taking a position in the futures market that is opposite to a position in the physical market. So now this brings out that particular that concept in derivatives. That means that there are two markets. Yeah, one is a physical market, and we often call it a spot market. So there's one market called the spot market, and the other market is the futures market, or the market where you're buying and selling an instrument. You're buying and selling an options instrument or a futures instrument. So you have two markets running parallelly. So in one market, you can actually go pay money, buy the goods, and take delivery immediately. And the other market is where I'm buying in the future. So I'm buying in the other market, I'm buying in the future, and I will take delivery if I want to take delivery at the time when the contract comes to an end. So the point here is that when I'm hedging, I will do the key word here is opposite. So whatever I'm doing in the physical market, I will do exactly the opposite in the futures market. Now, for instance, if I'm going to take delivery in the futures market, that means I'm going to buy in the futures market, then in the physical or spot market, I will sell. So in which case I should have the commodity in my possession. Otherwise, I won't be able to sell in that market. But the point of the matter is that when you're hedging, it has to be with that particular mindset that whatever is happening in the physical market, I'm doing exactly the opposite in the futures market. So the aim here is that I reduce or limit losses, limit risk rather associated with unpredictable changes in price. So whatever happens in with price changes, if I make money on the instrument, I lose money on the spot market. If I lose money in the spot market, I make money in the opposite. I'm in the instrument market. Net, I should be in a no profit, no loss situation. So here I just want to bring in bring in one more concept here. That is, we can be speculators. Yeah, that means we want to trade on the commodity market and try and make money. Yeah, so I'm actually speculating on the price movement, and every time the price moves, I will try and make some money out of that. Yeah, that is a speculator. A speculator comes up with different kinds of strategies. So a speculator might have a strategy, an arbitrage strategy, or he could just be taking a chance. Yeah, so he could be just a hardcore speculator. But the point is, the aim of or the objective of a speculator is to make money. Okay, the aim or the objective of a hedger is not about making money, but it is definitely not about making a loss. So what is the aim of a hedger? Aim of hedging is to mitigate price risk, to reduce or limit the risk associated with changes in price. So whenever you are hedging, it is not about trying to make money or by buying or selling contracts. It is you're looking at the net position, the position in the physical market and the position in the instrument market. So the objective behind this mechanism, offset a loss in one market with a gain in other. Now, whichever market, it doesn't matter. If this market is instrument market, the other market would be the physical market, and so on. So here, this is what hedging is. So look at commodity price, identifying price risk. So this, I think we have showed you yesterday. Basically, what we are saying is that when prices are very volatile, we don't know which direction the price goes, and this is the risk. This particular triangle is the risk that I'm trying to overcome. Yeah, and because the price could go any direction and nobody knows, and we have different types of players in the market. So there are those who want prices to be low, and there are those who want prices to be high. So the point is, the minute the commodity price is very volatile meaning it keeps going up and down, it is bringing speculators into the market, because speculators want to get in at a lower rate and sell at a higher rate and try and make the money. Yeah, of course, many times they'll burn their fingers, but that is speculators. Speculators are risk takers, so they get into the market and take a risk. And on the other side, we have people who want to manage or mitigate risk. Now, the difference here is that the person who's a speculator, he has no interest in the commodity whatsoever. He has interest only in the price and the price movement. Whereas a hedger, he is the person who wants to lock into the price because he has a need for the physical commodity. And he has this need is either he wants it today or he wants it at a point in time in the future. But the point, nevertheless, is that he has a need or a requirement of the physical commodity. The only difference is that particular requirement is not today, it is at a point in time in the future. So somebody who's a manufacturer knows that he needs the commodity in the month of March of next year. So what am I talking about here? We're talking about planning. So you need to be a good planner. You need to have companies which they plan procurement. And once you will start planning and you know what kind of quantity of commodity you need and when you need it, then you can start planning. And one of the effective ways of planning is you can buy and store. But if you buy the commodity because you need it in the future, if you buy it today, what would happen is that you will need a place to store it. Yeah. So basically the whole idea is that I'm trying to avoid buying the commodity and storing it because I don't want to incur holding cost. So we will talk on that in a little bit more, but basically to overcome this risk, you need designing of hedging strategies. You need to design hedging strategies. And once you've designed the hedging strategy, the aim is that doesn't matter which direction the price moves. Whichever direction this price will move, it will make no difference to you because your personal aim as a hedger is risk mitigation. It is not about making money for you. Now, this is something I might have shown some of you in one of my earlier presentations last year or at the beginning of this year, but I've just brought in some new prices here. And because the main reason I've done this is because I want you to understand how serious this whole concept of price control or price mitigation is. Now, if you look at the base metals, right? These are base metals. And like I said right at the outset yesterday, that most of the commodities are priced in US dollars. And we in India, we convert this into rupees and we start trading in rupees. Right. So here, if you look at the base metals which we have, like copper, aluminium, zinc, nickel, lead, and these are the first few other base metals. Then we have Brent and gold. Now, look at this 2020. This is, I'm talking about last year before the Janta curfew. Before the Janta curfew, before we even heard of COVID-19, this was what the prices were like, yeah? And by the time we got into COVID, that means we in the April 2020, that is in the height of COVID, the first wave, and the first lockdown, look at the prices. The prices have dipped by 20% for copper and 18% for zinc. Imagine you're a seller of this commodity. Can you imagine what would have gone into your mind? Because nobody was buying and the prices were dipping. You could have been an importer who had already committed to buying the commodity, and then you suddenly found this price. This is the kind of a situation you found yourself in. Even the Brent crude, for that matter, because we were all in a lockdown, and you saw that, in the month of April, in fact, the prices went into a negative price on the 18th and 19th of April. But that was just a one-off. But the main point is that in April, the Brent crude had dipped by 71%. Okay, if you were not hedged, you were in deep trouble. And look at gold. Gold went up by 7%. Now, the thing is, it be recovered by June. By June, there was a recovery. June 2020, people had already, in India especially, and of course in many parts of the world, it already started adjusting their methods of production, methods of procurement, and hence that price had started moving up because manufacturing companies were now started procuring. There's some noise in the background. I just request everybody to put their phones on mute or your. Yeah, could you put it on mute, please? I'm not sure who's. Someone can put their. Yeah, I request everybody to put their laptops on mute, please. Yeah, I think we are done then. Yeah, but if you look at what is happening September 21, and I'm basically talking about just last week, maybe 10 days ago. Can you see the price of copper where we are? Compare this with before COVID. Look at the movement, 6,100 for a ton of US dollars for a ton of copper. And today we are sitting at 9,500 for a ton of copper, okay? And look at, you can see generally the prices have started going up. Look at nickel, it's an all-time high. Look at Brent crude now. We after that 71% dip, we are again back up at 70, which is higher than the pre-COVID time. Gold, of course, there are a lot of people out there who still are not very convinced about the outcome of COVID, and there's still a lot of people buying gold. So you can see gold prices are still holding out, but of course they're off their peaks. But the main point of this particular slide is to push home the point that that prices are very, very volatile. Okay, and you need to overcome that. Yep. Can you put your mobile on mute, please? Yep. Okay. All right. So if you look at why do you require derivatives? Yeah. So we have said, why do you need derivatives? You have to give me a break now. Give me a break, please. Yeah, I'm sorry. There was this is what happens when you work from home. So there is somebody on the door. So anyway, it's as I was saying, why do you require derivatives? So basically, they're required to manage risk, like we have been talking about. Now, it is important for farmers who are seeking protection against price decrease, because a farmer who has put his heart and soul in the field, he is worried that the price might fall by the time he harvests his crop. Or a food processor who is buying from the farmer and producing something. He's making a tin food, or he may be a hotel maybe in the hotel industry. Who's buying something, he's buying a food processor, and the point of matter here is that he's worried that the price might go up. So there are always two different sides of the coin. And similarly, in the manufacturing industry, we see exactly the same thing. We see that you have base metals, like a manufacturer of who's using base metals, like the ones I just showed you in the previous slide. It's important for them for the base metal, because I might be a manufacturer. Maybe I'm making a white good. I'm making a fridge, for example, or I'm making a television, or I'm making a washing machine, and I've got some the external part of that. I might be using some of this. I might be using aluminium. I might be using copper wiring. But the point of the matter is that I'm always subjected to risk of price going up, and hence I can come to the derivatives market and hedge my risk. About importers too. Now, if for example, when I'm buying crude oil from some of the large companies in India, like Reliance and so on, they buy crude oil from the Middle East, then they bring it to Gujarat state, and they have a refinery there. And after they have done after refinery, then they start selling it. Yeah. Now the point is that there is a time lag between the time they've procured the crude oil and the time that they start selling it. That time lag, it could be maybe about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. In that time, the prices might change. Yeah. So the prices change, and hence they want to manage that risk so that I just gave an example of crude oil. It can be any commodity for that matter. If I'm an importer or an exporter, between the time I procure the commodity, export it, and I'm able to sell it and get the amount of money that I'm going to get on the sale, the price might have shifted, hopefully in my favor, but you can never tell in which direction the price might move. If for importers and exporters, you also have another leg, as we call it, that is the currency leg, because your currency might have also fluctuated in a manner that you are going to be in a very difficult situation because of that. So it is all about perceptions. Yeah. So basically, we always say it is all about perceptions, right? So for example, this example here, this particular scene, the man on the island is happy to see a boat and the man on the boat is happy to see land. This is all about perspective. So when I'm hedging, right, it is all about a strategy put in place in such a manner that it doesn't make a difference whether I'm making money on the instrument or I'm making money on the physical side. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference because uh, whichever way I look at it, it's a no-win, no-loss situation. Yeah, both these guys are alive. Both of them are happy. Okay, so that is what hedging is all about. You're just gonna be happy that you have managed to mitigate your price risk. So let's look at this. This is something that I might have shown you yesterday. I'm not very sure I did show it to you yesterday. This is about perceptions, where I'm saying here I am today. So this is where I'm today, and this is I'm trying to buy something in the future, or I'm trying to sell something in the future. Okay, and I know the price today, and I know what it calls, what is going to cost me to buy and keep it till that particular date, and hence I know what the approximate price might be at a point in future. Of course, this says 5th of October, so I think this is a little outdated. So maybe I should just stop for a minute here, and I should make that maybe make it more effective. I can make that. Okay, so now it makes more sense. Okay, so now here we go. There we go. So it's a 5th of December contract, and I'm buying in the future, or I'm selling in the future, and this is the area of risk. So when I'm talking about risk, I'm talking about this area where the question mark is, and that so it is absolutely difficult to predict. And of course, a lot of people try and make a try and uh, come out with different strategies to try and mitigate that risk, but it is very difficult. You have to be in the market all the time. So you must remember that manufacturing companies, they are not in the market all the time. They are basically in the market for the end product that they are making and selling. Yeah? And so they do not have the time to keep monitoring the price movements all the time. If they do so, then they'll need a very large procurement department. Now, here's an example, because the example I'm going to give you is it could be anybody who's trying to hedge, but I think I should look at farmers. So this particular session, I'm just talking about farmers. So there's a farmers, there could be a cooperative, it could be government agencies, it could be ginning unit. So basically I'm talking about cotton. There's a yarn manufacturer, there's a textile unit, it could be garments unit, it could be an exporter or importer. Can you imagine the different types of people who are connected with only one commodity, cotton? And the price of that cotton can have such ramifications on their bottom line. So you could be any one of these guys here. It could be any one of them, and you will be impacted by price movement. And all of them should come to the commodity market to lock into prices. And that is what the entire hedging concept is all about. So look at this here, just to give you a clearer picture here. So a ginner, so here's a ginner. He's holding cotton stock, yeah, but wishes to lock in the price for his stock now for sale after 3 months. So he's got the stock, but he doesn't want to sell it because he wants to lock it for the next 3 months, thus protect against price risk. So he's trying to do that. So what is his risk? So when you say identify risk, what is the risk for the ginner? So he's holding the stock. He wants to lock into the stock. That is why he's holding it. So what is his risk? His risk is that after having procured this and locking into it by physically buying it, his risk is that what if the price in the market falls? He'll feel very silly. He'll say, my goodness, what a silly thing I did by locking into the stock and the prices have fallen. Okay, so he too needs to protect himself. So if sometimes you might find that someone has bought the commodity and you say, hey, look, the deed is done. Now, what's the point of hedging? I have already bought the commodity. It is lying in my go down. Why must I come to the commodity market and hedge it? Because the deed has been done. But no, the answer is you can still come to the commodity market and protect yourself against a price falling. Because imagine your competitors, they may not have bought the commodity, and they will take advantage and buy the commodity at a lower price, and your margins are going to get shrunk because it's a competition out there. And hence the point is, It doesn't matter who you are, what stage you're at, what your actual position is. You need to identify the risk. The risk in this example was someone who has already got, he's holding on to the stocks, but frightened that he's made a wrong decision and the prices have come down. Sometimes you have companies who, some of the, in the agriculture segment, or, in the cotton segment, you have companies who have what we call, they have their own warehouses. Okay, so they say, okay, it doesn't make a difference to me, I already have a warehouse, so there's no cost to me. Yeah, what difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference. I have empty warehouses and I'm utilizing them. But you should look at the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is that if I did not have this cotton to the store, I could have rented it out to somebody else. So there are different ways of looking at. Now look at the second one. An exporter, yeah, he receives an order today to export 5,000 bales in December. Yeah, so in December, he wants to export in December. He's already got the order. Now he plans to buy the stock from the spot market, export it. Now, what is the risk? The risk is that he could wait till December and buy, because he needs to export it in December. He doesn't need to export it now. He's already got an order. He only has to fulfill the order. Now, if he waits till December, what is the risk? The risk is the price might go up. And if he buys it today, what is the risk? The risk is the price might go down. But if he buys it today, there's another risk. He needs to protect that commodity that he has purchased. He needs to insure it. He needs to find a warehouse. He needs to, keep it very safely. He must make sure that the quality does not deteriorate. Yeah. So that is the kind of risk that he has to look at. And even this kind of a person, an exporter, can come to a commodity market and manage his risk. Look at the third situation, a farmer. So the farmer wants to lock into a selling price. He wants to lock into a selling price now. Now think about it. We are here of course we're in October, so he's obviously harvesting his crop now. Yeah. And the point is, after harvest, when he goes out to try and sell it, the price might be too low. The price might be low because there'll be too many farmers, because farm crops, or what you say, agriculture commodities, they are to a great extent seasonal. So if you have one farmer harvesting, there's a good chance that almost every other farmer is harvesting, and everybody comes to the market to sell at the same point in time, and everybody gets a price which is quite low, because everyone is trying to get rid of the stocks that they have, and they're happy to sell at a lower cost. But the farmer who wants to lock into a selling price, he can do so now. So what is the benefit of locking into a selling price on an exchange? The benefit is that the exchange guarantees the delivery, which means the exchange will take the delivery from the farmer. So the farmer doesn't have to go around looking for a customer. If he has sold it on the commodity exchange, he waits for the commodity contract to come to an end. He goes to the warehouse of the exchange, and he goes and gives delivery at that point in time. And he is guaranteed, this transaction is guaranteed. He's happy. He can just he can spend all his time on his farm. He can do a better job looking after his crop, because he's assured that his crop has already been sold. All he needs now to do is to give delivery at the time of the contract expiring. So this is who should hedge. So like I've just taken 3 situations here, but you can just pick on any one of these guys, and you can where the risk lies, and you can identify the risk at that point. Okay. So now I'm going to do a question with an example with numbers. So let's look at what is happening here. So first of all, I want you to understand the word long. See, in every subject matter, there'll always be some technical words, but you don't have to get too frightened of it, because they don't really, they're just there to differentiate between things. Now, when you say long, it just means I'm buying. Okay, if you say I'm buying a contract, yeah, so it's always about a contract on a commodity exchange. So whenever you're buying a contract, we say going long. And if you're selling a contract, we say going short. Okay, so these are the 2 terms that you should be always, because this is a very common term now. It's even in the stock markets, in the BSE and SE and so on, in the equity markets, they use the same terms. So every market, they're using the same terms So there's one more thing that you can, if you're new to it, just put it in your mind and lock it there for good. So going long means I'm buying a contract. So this is a strategy where somebody is buying the contract. Okay. Now look at this. What is happening? See, if you look at this, this is a physical market. Now, whoever this guy is in the physical market, he needs to buy the commodity in December. He doesn't need the commodity now. He needs it in December. Yep. He does not need the commodity in October, but he needs the commodity in the month of December. So what he does is he doesn't buy now, because if he had bought it now, he would have had to keep it in a warehouse. But instead of buying now, he still wants to lock into the price. So what he does is he buys a contract. So he buys a cotton futures contract. Now, here I should tell you one thing, that because the clearing and settlement part I'm going to do tomorrow. So I just want to bring this particular factor in. When you buy in the futures market, if you recall yesterday when I was introducing what a derivative is, and I had said there are three characteristics of a derivative. One, that I can buy something in the future. Yeah, so today I could buy something in the future. Yeah, at a price that I think is going to be the price. Now, the second characteristic of a derivative was that when I buy that in the future, I don't need to pay the full amount of money. So I'm only paying approximately 5% of the money. Yeah, I'm paying only approximately 5% of the money, the margin money. Okay, and the margin money is something that is always paid back to me when the contract comes to an end or when I square up my position. Now, so what is happening in this example is this gentleman, instead of buying in the physical market, he buys the contract. Yeah, this is only a piece of paper that he's buying. He's buying a contract. And for buying this contract, he's only paying 5% of the value. If he had bought in the physical market, he would have had to pay 100% of the value. But because he's buying in the futures, he's only paying 5% of the value. The rest of it he'll pay at the time of taking delivery. Now, in December, he goes into the market on the 20th of December. Why 20th of December? He wants the commodity at that point in time. Also, on the day when he wants the commodity, he goes and buys the physical commodity so that he can maybe export it, or maybe he has some use for it. And whatever purpose he needs the physical commodity at that point in time, he goes and buys it in the open market by paying the full money. And here on the futures contract, he squares up his position. He bought the contract, he sells the contract. Now you might ask me that on the futures contract, why did he not take delivery here? Well, the answer is he wanted the commodity on the 20th, and the contract perhaps was ending on the 31st, and he didn't want that 10 days to be wasted. And hence, he wanted all very, very cleverly, he just squares up his futures position, and any profits he makes here by buying at one price and selling it at the other price, whatever profits or loss he makes here is compensated by whatever happens on the other side. So let's look at this with numbers. Let's see what has happened here. Now, the point is, when somebody is going long, he's going long because he's anticipating prices to go up. So why am I buying something? I'm buying something now because I think price will go up. Only difference is, instead of buying in the physical, I'm buying a contract. But nevertheless, I'm buying because I'm expecting prices to go up. And if I'm buying, I'm going long. So it's a long hedge strategy. So here you can look at what is happening. Here is exactly the same situation here. Only difference is I put numbers here. So on the first, he's not buying anything. He's not buying anything there. Action, no action. Price is 22,200. He does not buy. He's anticipating prices to go up. In fact, the futures price on the commodity exchange is already reflecting that price rise. So the price has gone up to 22,500 there. Does he pay 22,500 here? Well, he doesn't pay 22,500. What he pays really is he only pays 5% of that. Okay. So he only pays 5% of this 22,500, and he is locked into this price. Just give me a minute. I'll shut this window. This guy outside the window is trying to sell something. Just give me a minute, please. Yeah, I'm back. I hope it makes some small difference. Right. So what is happening here is that this gentleman, he instead of buying in the physical market, he's buying the contract. And on the 20th, when he really needs the commodity, he goes and buys in the spot market. He buys at the price, whatever the going price is. And on the same day, the contract that he had purchased, he sells that contract. So he sells the contract or whatever price. So now let's look at what has happened. On the futures, he buys the contract at 22,500. He sells the contract at 23,800. The difference between the two is his profit on the contract. Okay. Don't go by the small numbers, because this price that is shown is the price of one bale. He might be buying up, tons of cotton bales, right? So don't worry on that. This is basically for explanation. He's just buying one bale. The price here is reflecting one bale, but he might be buying in multiple quantities. So he's buying at 22,500 the contract. He sells the contract at 23,800. Do remember that initially when he bought the contract, he had paid the margin money, and that margin money would be returned to him up once he has squared up his position. Squared up means he buys, he sells. He squared up his position. So the difference is 1,300 profit that he has made. And then he goes to the physical market and he buys on the 20th, he buys at 23,600. So how much did it cost him? It costed him 23,600 minus the profit he made on the futures, which is 1,300. So net of this is 22,300, which is approximately there. You can see that. Yeah. So in the hedging, it is not about absolute terms. It can be a little bit of profit, a little bit of loss. He's paid a slightly 100 rupees more. But the point is, he's managed to mitigate his risk to a great extent. If he had not bought it there, he would have paid a very high sum here. Yeah. But because he has hedged his position, he is almost locked into that particular price. Okay. But this is what I've just explained to you is what is called 50% hedge. Why it is called 50% hedge is because I have always been saying that we cannot predict the price movement. Now, in this example here, I'm assuming that the price is going up. And that was the whole idea of this particular strategy. The strategy was a long hedge strategy, anticipating prices to rise. But can I guarantee that prices might not change direction? I already showed you that the prices of commodities, how they changed in 1 year because of COVID. Yeah, imagine something of that nature. So what happens if the prices fall? So I've already bought a contract at 22,500. Yeah, I've already bought this contract at 22,500, but instead of this price going up, the price has actually gone down. Now, because the price has gone down, when I square up my position, I make a loss on the contract. I made a loss of 500 on the contract. Okay. And then I go into the market, and whatever the price is, I buy the commodity at that price. So what's the price going in the market? Because after the price fall, the price is 21,750. So 21,750 plus the loss I've suffered here in the futures market of 500. And it becomes to 22,250. So it's almost back there. Yeah. The point is, once I'm hedged, it doesn't matter whether the price is going up or the price is coming down. In the first case, I make money on the futures and I lose money on the spot. In the second case, I'm losing money on the futures and I'm saving or making money on the spot. That is what hedging is. So hedging, so if you recall, when we go back again and I show you that particular taking a position in the futures market that is opposite to the position in the physical market reduces or limits risk associated with unpredictable changes in prices. The object behind the mechanism is to offset a loss in one market with the gain in another. So this is the point that I'm basically trying to tell you. Yeah. So you can see that in this example, going long hedge, how it doesn't make a difference in which direction the price moves. Now let's look at another example. Let's look at a short hedge. Now this short hedge is a situation where he already has a inventory on hand. He's got value inventory on hand. That means he's got the physical commodity. Okay, he's holding on to it. Now, it sometimes happens in business that I don't want to sell my commodity which I have in hand, because when I need it in December, I may not be able to find the same quality or a quantity, or I might have to do a lot of shopping to get it. Yeah, my procurement team would have to overwork themselves to get it. And it's just a matter of 2 months. But the point is that I have the commodity with me. I have space to keep it with me, but I am subjected to risk. What risk? I'm subjected to risk of price falling. Yeah, because I have got it and the price might fall. So what I do is if I'm thinking that the price might fall, then I sell the contract. So I'm selling a contract because I remember I'm anticipating prices to go down. So I sell the contract, and if my perception is correct, remember we keep talking about perceptions here. And if my perception is correct and the prices do fall, then once the prices fall, I buy back the contract and I make money here. Okay. And here, if the prices do fall, then whatever loss I suffer on account of the prices falling will be made up by the profit I've made on the other side. So let's look at this with numbers. So remember, in this particular strategy, I'm anticipating prices to go down. And hence, I've done a short hedge. Short means I'm selling. What am I selling? I'm selling the contract. So look at what's happening here. Here, he has already got the commodity. So there's no action here because he's not buying it because he already has the commodity with him. Now, instead, what he does is he sells in the futures market, he sells a contract. He sells a contract at 22,500. Okay, and he's expecting prices to fall. He's right. Let's assume he's right, and the prices do fall. And the prices fall to 21,600. Yeah. So what has happened here? He's sold at 22,500. He buys it back cheap. He makes a profit of 900. He's made profit of 900 on the futures. Then remember, what is the price? Now he wants to sell it or whatever in the market. So at that point, the price has gone down to 21,650. So 21,650 is the market price. Add the 900 profit to it, and he's at 22,550. It's higher than this particular price here. Okay, so you can see that it was a good decision from his point of view, because he not only was he able to maintain the inventory on hand, but he has taken advantage of a perceived fall in price by selling the futures and buying back the futures contract, and he makes a little bit of money here. Okay, now this is based on his assumption that the prices are going down. But imagine suddenly there have been some new rules regarding customs duties or rules regarding export from the government. Government is trying to stop exports, perhaps, or there might be some problems with at the port, at the ships, at the docks. There might be problems. With the result, there is a glut. Yeah, and that is so. And so that is what is probably causing there's a huge supply in the market, and hence the prices are coming down. And suddenly the government opens up everything and allows you to sell anywhere. You can buy, you can export, and suddenly you find the price moving in a different direction. The prices start moving in a direction away from what you had originally perceived. Now here, what is happening is he has already committed. He has already sold the contract at 22,500. He's already sold it at this price. But instead of the prices coming down, the prices have gone up. So the price starts going up, and he squares up his position on the futures contract. He makes a loss on that contract. And then he actually sells his commodity at the high price. Remember, he's already got inventory in hand. He sells the commodity at the right price. He sells it at 22,600 at the higher price. He sells it in the spot market at a high price. What is his net? His net price would be 22,600 less the loss he has made here. So it comes to 22,350. So you can see that he's actually he's positioning himself in a range of 22,550 and 22,350 over a two-week period, when the prices really have moved from, the prices have moved from 21,650 to 22,600. So you can see the variation in the prices from the 21,650 to 22,600, whereas he has managed to remain in a very narrow zone here because he has hedged his risk. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what hedging is all about. Yeah, hedging is a technique that you need to plan for. You need to implement it, and you need to monitor it in such a manner that at the end of the day, the production cost of a company remains without much fluctuation, because the price movements will not impact the bottom line of that company. And this is what hedging is. So the objective is to lock in prices to obtain protection from unwarranted or unwanted price volatility. So here, there's something else that I want to bring about, one more concept on hedging. So look at this particular um, this particular this cartoon. It says, why do you have only a 40% of an umbrella? It says chances of a rain is only 40%. Now, this is of course a funny, laughable matter, but the point here is that in derivatives, we provide flexibility. It is something like insurance. You know, when you insure yourself, you can insure yourself for 1 lakh, you can insure yourself for 10 lakhs, for 1 crore, whatever. That flexibility is up to you as to how much you want to cover. So if I have a commodity, like if I have something like 50 tons of a raw material, it's for me to decide whether I want to cover the risk uh, uh, 50. Do I want to 100% hedging to be done, 50% of my risk to be hedged, 25% to be hedged. How much I need to hedge to cover my risk is up to me. And that flexibility is provided by the commodity derivatives market. Generally speaking, my experience is that people, what they do is when they are new to the market, they hedge for say 10% of their total requirement. And then once they're confident, then they increase it to 25%, 50%, 60%. And once they have understood the technique and exactly how it is to be done, and they have all the areas taken care of, like the brokers, the banks, the warehouses, the procurement, the delivery. You have all other components have been taken care of, and you have developed a level of confidence. That is when you find that a hedger starts moving maybe from 10% of hedging to 20%, 30%, 80%, and so on. Yeah, you can't overhedge. Yeah, if you overhedge, then it becomes a problem with taxation. So we'll talk on that in a few minutes. So I have explained to you so far. This was an example. The one which we just looked at is an example by using futures. But can I hedge using options? Because we do have options as well. So this is an example of a protective put strategy. Yeah, just a strategy that involves buying an underlying and buying a put. Now remember, there are lots of hedging. There are a lot of strategies in options, but the strategies that I am talking about here is a hedging strategy. The aim of this strategy is not about making money. So options as a financial instrument in commodity markets, there are hundreds and hundreds of strategies available for people to go and try and make money. But if you are a person who is physically connected with the commodity, then what you have to do is you have to look for the hedging strategies, and protective put strategy is a hedging strategy. So look at this. This is a position where this is an example where somebody has got a physical commodity. He's actually got the commodity physical. Now he wants to protect himself. So what is he protecting himself against? He's protecting himself against prices falling. So this is one of those things. I buy something and then I'm saying, oh my God, why did I buy it? Every time I buy it, the prices fall. Yeah. So that is and if I don't buy it, the prices start going up. So that is a catch-22 kind of a situation. So here's a gentleman who bought the commodity, okay, at 45,000. Now he's frightened that the prices might fall, and hence he gets into something called a buy put. Yeah. So I'll explain that in a minute. So in options, you have there are only two types of options. We call them call options and put options. In a call option, you can be buyer of a call, or you can be a writer or a seller of a call. In a put also, you can be a buyer of a put and you can be a seller of a put. So whenever you trade on options on a commodity exchange, you can take a strike price. Yeah? You can take a strike price. In this example, the strike price is 44,900. And at that strike price, you can either buy a call, you can sell a call, you can buy a put, or you can sell a put. So that is the kind of trading that normally takes place. So you choose a strike price for a particular commodity on a commodity exchange. And at that price, at that strike price, you start offering a premium if you're a buyer of a call, or if you're a buyer of a put, then you are offering a premium. And if you're a writer of a call and a writer of a put, then you will be the person who will be receiving the premium. But the point here is, if I have to explain in a very short manner what options are. Options are financial instruments. They are derivative instruments which allow you to buy a right. They allow you to buy a right to buy. It's called a call option. Or it allows you to buy a right to sell. So that is called a put option. So because you're buying a right, obviously you're buying, and hence you have to pay something. So what do you pay? You pay a premium. Yeah, a premium. So if you recall the second characteristic of a derivative, because options are derivatives after all. So second characteristic of derivative is that whenever I buy a financial instrument, a derivative instrument, I need to pay a small amount of money. Yeah, in a futures market we call it margin money. In a options market we call it a premium. Yeah, the only difference between these margins and premiums are that margin money comes back to you when you square up your position, but in options, when you pay the premium, that money never comes back. Once paid, it is gone. So let's come back to this particular question here. And I am buying a physical commodity at 45,000, and I'm buying a put at the strike price of 44,900. And for buying this put, I've paid a premium. Yeah, so let's look at how this turns out. Let's look at it with numbers. So here, physical, I buy at 45,000. The price goes up to 44. It comes down to 44,700. Am I happy? Of course, I'm not happy. I bought at 45. Prices come down by 300 rupees. I buy at 45 and the price goes up to 45,300. Am I happy? Yes, I'm happy. I'm happy that I purchased it. I purchased it at 45 and the price has gone up after 3 months to 45,300. So I'm 300 rupees happy. So if I look at this, here I'm just assuming, that for buying this put, buying this right to sell, I paid a premium of 50. Now look at this. This is what we call a payoff table, right? Okay. So when I buy at 45 and if the price is 44,700, I'm unhappy 300. I buy at 45, price goes up to 45,200. I'm 200 rupees happy. Let's look at the put. A put is a right to sell. A right to sell at what price? Right to sell at 44,900. Will I sell it to you at 44,900 when the market price is 44,700? Yes, I will. Because if I decide to sell in the open market, I will only get 44,700. So I will exercise my right at 44,900, which means I make a little bit of money here. However, if the price goes up to 45, if the price goes up to 45,300, will I exercise my right and sell it to you at 44,900? Of course not. I will sell it in the open market at 45,300. And hence here I'll make a money. So if you look at this payoff, it looks something like this. So from the point of view of the options contract, at prices which are higher, I will not exercise my right and I'll forego the premium that I've paid. However, if the prices drop, then I will exercise my right and I will sell at the pre-agreed price of 44,900. Okay. So if you look at this net, what is happening is this. Now, this calculation part is the easy part. Okay, anyone can do it. It won't take it will just take a few minutes for you to get the understanding of this, and you should all be able to do this. But what you need to understand is, where is the hedging here? Okay, when I said that this is a hedging strategy, what is hedging here? Now, hedging is this: that once I have done this I have bought a physical position and I bought a put. What it is doing is that if the prices continue to rise, I end up making money. However, if prices start dropping, the maximum loss I would be making is only 150 rupees. That is after taking into consideration even the premium that I've paid. Okay, so the maximum loss is 150. So what is 150? It is about sensitivity analysis. If some of you might have learned sensitivity analysis, this is about how sensitive am I to a price change. So if I'm not very sensitive, if I'm highly sensitive, then I can actually lock into this. So basically, I'm able to bear a loss of 150 rupees per 10 grams of gold. This is a gold contract, by the way. So for per 10 grams of gold, I can withstand a loss of 150 rupees. So I'm actually protecting myself so that the maximum loss I make is 150. However, if the price moves in my favor, then there's unlimited profit here. Okay, the price will, if the price keeps going up, I'm unlimited profit. So this is an example of hedging, how hedging can be done using options. So what are the benefits of hedging? So I'm locking into prices. So it is good if I lock into prices, then I don't have to worry. I don't have to keep looking at price movements, because if for certain commodities, prices are very, very volatile. Volatility means that the prices keep going up and down all the time, like our stock markets do. And every time I invest some money in the shares, and every day when I look at it, some days I'm very upset, and some days I'm very happy. So that's the whole idea about the commodity. So if somebody is wanting to buy the raw material, he also gets worried every time he sees prices changing, and hence, if you can, one benefit is you are locking into the price, and then it doesn't matter whether the price is going up or price is going down. If the price moves in one direction, you make money on the physical side. If the price moves in the other direction, you make money on the instrument side, like I showed you earlier. So you can ensure better cash flow management, because I think maybe I missed that point. I wanted to tell you that point. I just wanted to tell you that see, in this case, he already has a commodity. Yeah. Here, in the earlier case, he needs to buy. He has a requirement in December. He has to buy the commodity at that point in time. Yeah. So here, what I was basically trying to tell you in this example, in this particular point, is it ensures better cash flow management, because I know when I need to buy in December. I need to buy on the 20th of December. So I can plan my cash flows accordingly. I can go and negotiate with the bank manager now. So imagine going to the bank manager and saying, I want money day after tomorrow. He's gonna, charge you a massive interest on that, because you need it at a very short notice. You will not be able to negotiate with them. But if you are hedged and you know exactly how much money you're going to require to procure the commodity in the month of December, and very specifically on 20th of December, then you can actually go and negotiate with the bank manager and you can arrange for the finance well in advance. So it's basically what we say, insurance against price risk. Yeah. So this is what we are talking about, insurance against price risk. In fact, when you talk about options, we're looking at put options. In put options, we are buying a right to sell. Yeah, that is and you have no obligation to sell. You only have a right to sell. This is perfect. It's like an insurance for a farmer. What the farmer does is he buys a put option, and by paying a small amount of premium, he's locking into a sell price. It's like an insurance. He's guaranteed of a return of a particular price at a particular price. So it's an insurance against price risk. So what is a mechanism? Mechanism to identify, measure. So this is so when you are looking at benefits of hedging, you need to have a mechanism first to identify that there is a risk. You need to identify this risk. And only then you will go and try and do something about it. Then you need to measure. You should have an ability to measure that risk. Then you have to manage the risk and monitor the risk. Yeah. And once you have got all these four things done, you will find that at every stage there's a benefit to be get. Because by the time you identify a risk, you will understand that, is there any other way I can mitigate the risk? Do I need to come to the commodity market to mitigate that risk? Is there something else that I could possibly do? I'll just give you an idea. Many times what companies do is they have back-to-back agreements. What is a back-to-back agreement? So I can have a deal with the supplier of the raw material saying that for the next 3 years, you will supply me with this raw material at a price that we both will agree now. It's like almost like a forward contract. It's like an OTC contract where I can negotiate with the supplier now for delivery in the future. Yeah. And so that is, these contracts are back-to-back agreement contracts, whereby I might get into a deal where that the seller will keep giving me the raw material for the next 2 years, next 3 years, as per the terms of the contracts that we have both sat across the table and signed. So that is you need to if you are identifying your risk, then there are some things you could possibly do. Then you should be able to measure the risk. You say, how much is the risk? Can I afford that risk? Can I not afford the risk? And then you decide whether you need to mitigate it. So then once you have decided to mitigate it, then you have to decide how you're going to mitigate it. So are you going to do it using options? Are you going to do it using futures? Are you going to do it on exchange X, or are you going to do it in exchange M? Whichever. So you'll be talking about where exactly you're going to do that risk mitigation. you also have to get down to who is going to do it, who's going to monitor it. You need people to handle it. And of course, you need to monitor the risk on day-to-day basis, because remember, on commodity exchange, it's a flexible exchange. You can always square up your position anytime during 9 a.m. and 11:55 p.m. So you can do that. So you can monitor it. And so basically, what is the benefit of hedging? Hedging protects the business margins, right? So you can't wait till the end of the year and say, oh my God, I made a loss because the raw material price went up. Okay. You don't need to do that because you're protecting your business by hedging. Okay. So basically you need better planning. So you have to plan. And there are lots of benefits of planning. Forget about hedging. Even better planning itself brings in lots of benefits. And better planning helps you to hedging strategies, to strategize the hedging strategies up in a better way. That means you're more efficient when it comes to hedging. So planning brings lots of benefits for different areas of a business, but it definitely does so for the purpose of hedging. And because you're hedging, and you don't need to keep observing the price movements on a day-to-day basis, then you can focus on the core business activity. So in one other thing about this is you are also focusing on the core business activity. So I'm not looking at where the price is low, where should I buy it from, who's selling it at what price, will this person give me a discount, will that person give me a bigger discount. I don't have to wait on all that thing. I don't need to waste my time with that. I just focus on the main activity of my business. That is a very most, and the other one more part is that sometimes when companies set up, they need to have, if they need multiple raw materials, different types of raw material, then they need to have a very large procurement team. So your materials department, your procurement department would be very, very large. You'll have a lot of employees there, which is again, it's an overhead to the company. But if you can get to hedge on a commodity platform, then you just need a very small 2 or 3 member team of in the treasury department who will help to strategize hedging strategies, and you don't need a very large procurement department. Yeah, so that is the other way, because you're saving on HR costs in that case. So it enhances efficiency and competitiveness because you remain competitive. You don't have to pass on the price, like I said in the very first slide. You don't need to pass on the price of higher raw material cost. You don't have to pass it on to your customers. Okay, so risk mitigation strategies, right? So Matt is related to hedging. So there's a couple of things I need to talk about here. Before I hedge, I need to do planning. Okay, I need to create a risk document, right? So there is a risk document that needs to be created. Now this is the way, in a scientific way it has to be done. Most companies, if you go to their annual reports, you will find that they will mention in their annual reports that they have created a risk document. That risk document, what it does is it actually identifies the risk. Okay, even before they go on and mitigate that risk, before they even do anything else, the first step, they identify the risk, the quantum of risk that they have to identify. Then they try to mitigate it, and once they try and mitigate it, they need to know instruments to be used. Are they going to use a futures instrument? Are they going to use a options instrument? How are they going to use it? What are they going to do? So they need to identify the instruments to be used. They even go down to the level of the name of the employee who is going to be given this power to help in mitigation. So you will, in companies, will very clearly identify the people who will be involved in mitigation. And afterwards, once everything has been done, once the mitigation has to be done, there is something that is coming. So first of all, there is something called accounting standards. There's something called Indian Accounting Standards 109. This is for accounting for derivatives or accounting, and also for financial instruments. So remember that once you have hedged, that whatever your positions are, it needs to find its way into the balance sheet and the profit and loss account. Okay, so there is a whole concept of effective and ineffective hedges. Okay, so I'll just give you an idea. See, annual reports are made on the 31st of March. In some countries, in some places, we are making reports on 31st of December. That is known as the balance sheet date. Now, if I have a position if I've taken a hedging position, so let's assume that I buy a contract at 100 rupees on the 1st of March. So I buy a contract on the 1st of March for 100 rupees. On 31st of March, why 31st of March? 31st of March is the balance sheet date. On the 31st of March, the value of my position has ended up on the 31st of March with a profit of 20 rupees. If I made a profit, then that 20 rupee profit will find its way in the P&L account on which I will end up paying a tax. Okay. If I made a loss, on the 31st of March, so I buy a contract at 100, on 31st of March, its value is 80. So I made a loss on the 31st of March of 20 rupees. Now that 20 rupees, should it be written off in this financial year, or can I wait until July? Why July? Because maybe I want to square up my position in July, and not on 31st of March. So can I hold on to my losses and look at the direction in which the prices are moving, look at my position, wait it out until 31st of July? Yeah. Now that will be determined whether the hedge is effective or ineffective. So whether I should roll over my position to the next year's financial statement, or should it be written off in this year's financial statement, will be decided on the basis of the hedging strategy being effective or ineffective. So let me tell you exactly what we mean by that. So see, before you hedged, you created a hedge document, risk document. In this risk document, you have identified a position that you wish to take. And if after having entered the derivatives market and having taken a position, if the market has behaved in exactly the manner in which you were, so if the market has behaved in exactly the manner in which you wanted the market to behave, right? In which case your strategy was an effective strategy. But on the other hand, if you were expecting markets to behave in a particular manner, and that you must have entered it in your risk document, but the market behaved in a different manner. It didn't follow the way you were anticipating. In other words, as a hedging strategy is an ineffective hedging strategy. If it is ineffective hedging strategy, then any profit or loss that you make, you have to write it off in the current financial year. If it is an effective hedging strategy, effective in comparison to what you had originally planned, effective, then if you have made a profit, you write it off in the same financial year. If you have made a loss, you can carry it to the next year's financial position. So let me just go back and just so I can bring back this whole concept again and give it more clarity. Let me just go to that particular, this one. See, in this example, I've done a short hedge. What was a short hedge? I was expecting prices to fall. So I have in my risk document, this is a strategy which goes into my risk document. But if the market behaves differently and the price goes in a different in different direction, now it doesn't matter I make a profit or a loss. In this case, I made a loss. If it has been an ineffective strategy, then it will go into the balance sheet in this financial year. Okay. So same thing in the previous example. Here too, my strategy was about prices going up. But if the prices went down, then it doesn't matter whether I make a profit or a loss, it will find its way in the balance sheet of this financial year. It will not get carried away to the balance sheet of the next financial year. Yeah, so that is so what is just maybe just for clarity, in case some of you may not have a financial background, so let me just tell you what I mean by this financial year and the next financial year. See, the financial year which is going to come to an end is going to be 31st March of 2021, and the next financial year would be 31st March of 2022 and 2023. So we're looking at 2022, which is this financial year, and 2023, the next financial year. Okay, so this is where I was. So this is how we decide the effective hedge. Now there is something else here. There's some SEBI. SEBI we have created one requirement. It's called LODR. It's called Listing Obligation and Disclosure Requirement. Yeah, I'll repeat again. listing obligation and disclosure requirement. Now, what is happening is that it has mandated any company which is hedging their risk. They have mandated that they must disclose it in their annual report. Yeah, so they have to, every company which is hedging, it needs to disclose it in the annual report. Now, if you might ask, why is SEBI getting into all this? Well, there's a reason for this. See, remember, companies are run by shareholders' money. Yeah, I have got a share in in a company, and the company has got all this money that they collected at the time of an IPO, which they have collected from all the shareholders. Okay, from all the primary shareholders. Now, that money doesn't belong to the management of the company who's running the company. The money belongs to the shareholders who are the owners of the company. And SEBI, as the regulator, is ensuring that companies who are hedging or who are mitigating their price risk using derivative instruments do not start speculating using the capital which is there in the company accounts. Yeah, and that is why SEBI has come out with this LODR. You can always read on that on the SEBI website. Go to SEBI website and do LODR, and you'll get lots of equipment, lots of information there. Okay. So I end my session now, and I will open up for question answers. So I'll stop sharing, and let us see what kind of questions you might have.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can ask, sir. Or either you can raise the hand or you can unmute yourself, you can ask.
So any questions anybody has, I'm very happy to. I finished about 8 minutes early, thinking that people will have questions. Okay.
Yes, sir. Only 7 minutes left. That's it, sir.
No questions?
Even nobody raised their hands.
Okay.
I think it's very much clear to the participant.
I hope so. I hope so. Well, we have one more last session tomorrow. Okay. So if anyone has any questions relating to yesterday's session or today's session, they can always come back and we can touch base tomorrow. Okay. All right then. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank
Yes.
you. There's something in the chat box. Okay. Yeah, please fill up the feedbacks, please. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
Participant, please fill the link. We'll wait for 5 more minutes. participant. Those who completed feedback link, you can leave.
അതെ ആ പറഞ്ഞേ രാജേഷിനോട് പറഞ്ഞു പിന്നെ ഇല്ല attendance. അപ്പൊ ആ കുട്ടിക്ക് എല്ലാ ദിവസവും കൊടുക്കണം 11 അവർ 9 11 അവർ പിന്നെ ഈ പണികളൊക്കെ ആദ്യം നോക്കും ബാക്കി ഇപ്പൊ അഡ്ജസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തോളൂ. പിന്നെ തിങ്കളാഴ്ചക്ക് മാറ്റിയിട്ട് അഡ്ജസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. ഇപ്പൊ മറ്റേ അല്ല